Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I'm happy to be back with you. It has been a long time since I've done a children's story, so I'm going to do one today. And the name of it is Curious George Tadpole Problem. Now, this came from a TV series written by Bruce Akiyama, and it was adapted by Mark London Williams. I always loved Curious George as a child. I hope you do too. George was exploring a lake with his friend Bill. George was a good explorer and always very curious. He was especially curious about tadpoles. Bill told George that he could be in charge of the tadpoles they found. George took tadpole watching very seriously. He watched them swim in their glass bowl. He fed them boiled lettuce. That's interesting. I didn't know they would eat boiled lettuce. He took them for a swim in the lake. At the time, it seemed like good exercise for tadpoles. When the tadpoles did not come back, George started to worry. What would Bill say? He had to find them. George spent hours at the lake. He found other things like turtles and water beetles and minnows, which are little tiny fish, but he found no tadpoles. Oh dear. Every time George would visit the lake, he would look for the tadpoles. Several weeks went by. Finally, he found something that looked like a tadpole, but it had legs and almost no tail. So George let it go. A few weeks after that, George took a walk in the city to think about his tadpole problem. He was going back to the lake soon. Bill would be very disappointed if George had lost the tadpoles. George walked so long, he found himself in front of a museum. He saw a butterfly that reminded him of being at the lake, so he followed it. The butterfly flew into the museum, and George kept following past all kinds of exhibits. There was a special display about creatures that live around lakes. George knew many of them, like turtles and minnows and lizards and tadpoles. Picture of the baby tadpole reminded him of his own tadpole. Next to it was one of the funny creatures that George had seen in the lake. It had legs and a smaller tail. See? First they begin as eggs. And this is what it looks like when George lost it. And this is the creature that he found in the lake that he let go. The creature with legs were tadpoles. His friends had not vanished. They were just changing and growing up. George was so excited he left the museum without finishing the exhibit tour. As soon as George got back to the lake, he looked for his missing friends, especially the ones with the little legs and almost no tails. But they were not there either. This time George could only find frogs. Lots and lots of frogs. What a good idea, George said, seeing the empty jar. You decided to release the tadpoles into their natural habitat so we could watch them grow into frogs. You're not only curious, you're smart too. Let's take a picture of you and the frogs together, George said. Smile. And there's George playing leapfrog with the frogs. Well, that was very interesting. There are 4 main stages in a frog's life. These ones are out of order. You can number them from 1 to 4 in proper order. Okay, look at those. Which one do you think happens first? That's right, this one. These are the eggs before they hatch. Which one do you think happens next? That's right, these ones. And as they keep growing, which happens next? That's right. And finally, they turn into frogs. I have some tadpoles growing in some little containers here at our house. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story. Maybe you learned something new about tadpoles. There are other animals that change as they develop into what they will be as adults. Well, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I want to say I love you. I really do. But even more importantly, God loves you, and He always will. All right, whatever you do, keep dreaming.